One day, you realize not everyone deserves a place in your life. The noise fades, and you're left with a single question, sharp as a blade, quiet as a breath. What will you let in, and what will you never allow again? It's not just a decision, it's a declaration, a silent line drawn in the sand, telling the world how to treat you. The Stoics knew this long ago. They understood every time you stay silent in the face of wrong, you're giving it permission to exist. You trade pieces of your dignity for a little false peace. And false peace is the softest prison. I'm not saying you need to fight every battle. I'm saying guard the invisible gate to your life. Because through that gate, every word, action, and person enters. The question is, are you guarding it, or are you standing aside letting anything and everything walk through? I remember when I left my gate wide open, telling myself, it's fine. That's just how they are. But with every it's fine, I became smaller, quieter, less myself. It took me years to see that wasn't grace. It was compliance. I had taught people that my boundaries could bend. Boundaries aren't walls. They're invitations for others to treat you with the respect you've always deserved. And when that respect doesn't come, you don't need to shout. You simply close the gate. There are 9 behaviors that if you tolerate them, you hand someone the keys to your peace. Some are obvious, open disrespect, lies that destroy trust, betrayal of loyalty. Others slip in quietly like fog at night, manipulation that makes you doubt your own memory, endless complaining that pulls you into their storm, chronic negativity that turns the brightest sky gray, envy that poisons connection, entitlement that takes without thanks, laziness that leaves the weight on your shoulders. Each one is a theft of energy, of clarity, of self-respect. You can't stop every storm, but you can choose the seeds you plant. You can pull the weeds before they choke the roots, and you can protect the garden from footsteps that don't belong there. One day, you'll look back and see the people who shaped you most weren't the ones you kept. They were the ones you let go. Your worth is never up for negotiation. So today, close one door you know has been open too long. And if this message speaks to you, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to reclaim their own boundaries. Tell me, out of these 9, which one will you say no to starting now? Do you remember the last time someone made you feel small? It didn't come as a slap in the face. It came as an interruption mid-sentence, a distracted glance while you were sharing something that mattered, a joke everyone laughed at except you. Small things, but it's those small things that quietly chip away at the foundation you stand on. Disrespect rarely arrives like a storm. It slips in like a cold draft, soft, but enough to make you shiver. Maybe it's a coworker cutting you off during a meeting, a friend half joking, poking at an old wound in front of others, or a family member nodding along while their eyes say your story isn't worth their time. If you let it slide, it doesn't disappear. It finds a way to stay. Next time, it'll be easier for them and harder for you to say, stop. The Stoics didn't believe in exploding with rage, but they didn't swallow their silence either. They responded with clarity, with principle, with a message: I know my worth. Because if your message is a forced smile or eyes that look away, you're teaching them they can do it again. Think of a stone bridge. It can stand for hundreds of storms, but one small crack, and the rain seeps in, wearing it down, until one day, the whole bridge collapses. Your self-respect is the same. If you don't mend the first crack, you're inviting the next one. Someone once told me, I don't want to make a big deal. I just want to keep the peace. But keeping the peace by abandoning yourself isn't peace. It's a silent agreement, one that only benefits the other person. The Stoics had a rule: control how you respond. Don't let them pull you into rage, but don't let them believe they have the right to harm you either. Sometimes the response is simple: you stand up and walk away. Sometimes it's a calm, firm sentence: that's not okay. And sometimes it's ending a relationship that's made you feel small again and again. You don't have to be cold. You just have to be clear. Clear about the line and that it's not up for negotiation. Because when you let disrespect stay, you're not just letting someone cross that line. You're teaching yourself the line never mattered. So if today there's a comment or action that's still sitting heavy in your chest, don't brush it off. Ask yourself, am I protecting peace or abandoning myself? The first crack has to be the last. Because if you don't stand up for yourself, who will respect isn't a gift someone hands you. It's a standard you have to protect. And when you protect it, the world learns to protect it with you. If this message resonated with you, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to be reminded that their worth is never up for negotiation. And tell me in the comments, when was the last time you said, stop? Have you ever been in a relationship where every time you were certain you were right, someone made you question your own memory? At first, it's just a little confusion, not sure if you heard it right or imagined it. But slowly, that confusion becomes a habit. Manipulation rarely arrives like a storm. It doesn't slam the door. It doesn't shout. It doesn't rage. It slips in quietly, soft as a breeze, wearing the mask of concern, even love. And that is what makes it dangerous. A manipulator doesn't need force. They twist the story, add just enough detail to make you wonder, did I remember it wrong? They say things like, you're overreacting. I'm just worried about you. You're taking this too personally. And over time, you stop trusting your memory. You stop trusting your gut. And once you lose faith in yourself, you become the easiest person to control. The Stoics understood this well. They knew losing your peace doesn't just come from the noise outside. It comes from the quiet hands rearranging things inside your mind. They don't respond with chaos. They don't play the blame game. They stand still, calm, unmoved, because they know every time you step into a manipulator's game, you step onto their turf, play by their rules, and lose. Picture your mind as a still lake. They toss in a stone, ripples spread. They want you to wade in to splash around in the muddy water. The Stoic doesn't take the bait. They keep their lake clear because they know if they lose that clarity, they lose everything. I once had a friend who lived in that cycle for years. She told me, I'm not sure who I am anymore. Every time I think I'm right, he makes me believe I'm wrong. What she lost wasn't just trust in him, it was trust in herself. That's why protecting your clarity is protecting your peace. You can love someone, you can care deeply for them, but if their presence makes you ask yourself, am I too sensitive? Am I making this up? It's time to step back. A Stoic observes, They notice when a conversation gets twisted, when accusations are wrapped in soft words, when kindness is turned into a leash. And once they see it, they refuse to play. They don't argue. They don't try to prove the truth, because they know a manipulator doesn't care about truth. They care about control. You might ask, so what should I do? Sometimes, the answer is simple. Leave the chessboard. Stop being a pawn. Step outside, where you can hear your own voice again. Peace is never stolen in a single moment. It's worn away, bit by bit, so quietly, you don't notice, until it's gone. So hold tight to your clarity, because when you keep that, you keep everything. And remember, someone who truly loves you will never make you question your own memory or the worth you carry inside. There's a kind of lie, more dangerous than all the rest. It's not when someone tricks you, it's when you start to doubt yourself. The relationship may still be there, but the most important part of you is already gone. A lie rarely arrives like a lightning strike. It doesn't slam the door open. It slips in quietly, wrapped in words that sound reasonable. A tiny detail gets changed. A story is retold, but not quite the same. You hear it. Something feels off. Your intuition speaks. A faint tap on the door. But you reassure yourself, maybe I'm being too sensitive. Maybe I just remembered it wrong. And the moment you ignore it once, it gets easier to ignore it again and again. The Stoics understood this well. They knew losing trust in others is painful, but losing trust in yourself is losing everything. When you stop trusting your own feelings, you stop protecting yourself. That inner warning voice grows faint until it goes completely silent. And once it's gone, anyone can cross your boundaries. I once knew a woman. She was in a relationship where the lies were never loud, just tiny pieces, but each one chipped away at her certainty. She told me, I don't even trust my own memory anymore. You see, they didn't just take the truth, they took her inner compass. The Stoics choose truth even when it hurts, even when it means facing loss, because they know the cost of ignoring dishonesty is always greater than the cost of facing it. Truth may cost you a relationship, but dishonesty will cost you yourself. Picture driving through heavy fog. Your headlights are the truth. Each lie is a layer of dirt on the glass. At first, you can still see the road, but if you never clean it, those layers build up until you see nothing at all. That's how dishonesty destroys. Not loud, not sudden, but slowly, until you realize you've drifted far off course. The Stoics wouldn't let that happen. They notice when words and actions don't match. They pay attention when a story changes over time. And when they see the truth being bent, they don't look away. They choose to face it, to ask the hard questions. And if the answers are just more dirt on the glass, they're willing to walk away, not because they're cold, but because they value themselves more than false comfort. You might think, what if I'm wrong? Being wrong is still better than ignoring your own voice, because your intuition is the shield that protects you from what doesn't belong. And every time you listen to it, you strengthen your trust in yourself. A lie can destroy a relationship, but the cruelest thing it does is make you doubt your own eyes, your own ears, and your own heart. So forgive if you choose to, but never betray your own truth, because once you lose it, there's no clear path back to peace. If this message spoke to you, leave a comment. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. and subscribe, because here you'll always be reminded of your own voice. You only find out who's truly on your side when the storm hits, not when the sky is calm, not when life is easy, but when you stumble, when you're vulnerable, when it feels like the whole world has turned its back. And sometimes the person you thought would stay is the first one to leave. True loyalty doesn't need a promise. It's not measured by the compliments they give you to your face. It's measured by where they stand when you have nothing left to offer. Betrayal rarely comes as a public blow. It often arrives in silence, in their absence when you need a hand, in their silence when your name is being dragged through the mud, in the way their eyes look away, when defending you no longer benefits them. Sometimes they'll still smile at you, but deep down, they're hoping you'll fail, not because they want everything you have to disappear, but because your success reflects back what they haven't yet found in themselves. The Stoics understood this. Betrayal doesn't just break your trust in them, it tests your trust in yourself. You start wondering, did I misjudge them? Did I trust too much? But they also knew that anger and revenge only keep you stuck in the mud longer. So they chose a different way. They stepped back, quietly, but completely. No exposing, no complaining, no need for anyone else to know. Because they understood, once loyalty is gone, it never comes back whole. I once knew a man. When he was at the top, his friends were everywhere. Parties, tight handshakes, loud praise. But when he lost everything, only a few walked into that empty room and sat with him. He told me I lost a lot, but what I lost most was the illusion that everyone was genuine. Betrayal hurts because it rips the curtain down and shows you what you didn't want to see. That some relationships exist for what they can take, not for who you are. And this is where the Stoics drew the line. If you only stand with me when I'm strong, you don't deserve to be here when I'm weak. Stepping back isn't cold, it's self-respect. It's a silent but unmistakable message. Loyalty isn't negotiable. When you walk away from those who betray you, you take back control of your own emotions. You close the door they once walked through so easily, and you open the space for those who truly belong. Don't fear losing someone when the price is your integrity. Don't fear being called too demanding when your only standard is this: be here for me, not for what I can give you. You don't need a big circle. You need a real one. The storm is always the fairest test. It will show you who holds on tight and who lets go the moment the wind picks up. And when you see it clearly, thank the storm, because it doesn't just take away, it gives you back the truth. Loyalty is gold. Never trade it away to keep something that only shines on the surface. Who held on to you when your storm came? Share your story. Send this to someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe, because here you'll always find the voice that reminds you who you are. Some people never knock before they enter. They never ask if you're ready. They just take as if everything you have belongs to them. Your time, your energy, even your forgiveness. And the most dangerous part, they make you feel guilty for wanting to keep a little for yourself. Entitlement isn't loud like disrespect. It isn't violent like betrayal. It slips in quietly, bit by bit, draining your energy, your joy, your freedom. People like this rarely say thank you. And if they do, it sounds like a formality, not gratitude. To them, your presence and your help are things they're simply entitled to, as if you owe them. At first, you think maybe they're just being thoughtless, but then gratitude disappears. Requests multiply. You help once they see it as your duty. You forgive once they see it as their right. You give your time, they assume you'll always be there. The danger is, those with the kindest hearts are often the easiest to trap. Because you want to give, you want to love, and they use that kindness to make you feel guilty for setting boundaries. They'll say things like, "After everything I've done for you," as if any kindness in the past is a debt you must repay forever. The Stoics know this truth: giving should come from freedom, not from pressure, not from fear of being called selfish, because when you give out of fear, you're not giving kindness. You're giving away a piece of your own self-respect. I once knew a man, the rock of his family. Everyone came to him for help. At first, he loved being there for them. But over the years, no one asked, "Are you okay?" No one thought he might need a break. They just knew he would always show up. Until one day, he couldn't anymore. And instead of compassion, he got blame. That's the dark side of entitlement. When people get used to taking, your presence becomes invisible. And the moment you stop giving, they call it betrayal. The Stoics see it early. They step back when gratitude fades. They walk away when the asking outweighs the appreciation. No arguing, no explaining. Because once you have to constantly prove your worth, the other person has already decided not to see it. Remember this: your time, your energy, your heart are finite. If you let them be drained by those who can't appreciate them, you'll have nothing left for those who truly deserve them. Give, but don't let your kindness become an obligation. Love, but don't let your love turn into something taken for granted. And when gratitude leaves, you leave too. Kindness is not weakness. It is strength, but only when you decide where it belongs. Have you ever stayed quiet while a promise in your heart was slowly dying? No one broke it. There was no shouting, no angry words. It just faded in silence. Not because you forgot, but because you never truly began. Laziness and avoiding responsibility don't just kill another person's trust. They eat away at your own character. A promise is a kind of vow. When you say, "I will," you put your name on that commitment. From that moment, someone else has the right to expect it from you. But laziness is different. It doesn't arrive like a loud betrayal. It slips in quietly, when you put things off today and again tomorrow, when later becomes your default answer, when you find reasons not to start. Until one day, no one believes you anymore. The Stoics knew a person's value isn't in their words, it's in their actions. You can say you love someone, but if you're not there when they need you, that love exists only on your lips. You can say you want to change, but if you never take action, that desire is nothing more than a bedtime story you tell yourself to feel better. I remember a father. He always promised his son they'd play together on the weekend. But every Saturday, there was something important. A project, a meeting, an excuse that sounded reasonable on paper. At first, the boy was sad. Then he stopped expecting. And one day, he stopped asking. Not because he had grown up, but because he had learned he couldn't count on his dad. That's how laziness and avoidance silently cut the thread between two people. The Stoics value consistent presence. not because they can do everything, but because they know. Keeping your word also keeps your self-respect. Because every time you break a promise, you don't just lose someone else's trust, you weaken your own. Picture a solid wooden beam. On the outside, it looks fine, but inside, termites have been at work. One light touch, and it snaps. Laziness is that termite, silent, unseen, until it's too late. The Stoics knew character isn't destroyed in one night. It erodes each time you say "I will" and don't. And a person who can't trust their own word will struggle to go far. You can be tired, you can fear failing, but avoiding it only makes you weaker. If you're not sure you can do it, don't promise. If you've promised, follow through. Or at the very least, explain and take responsibility. Because that clarity and ownership is what keeps trust alive. Your worth is measured by what you hold to when no one is watching. Be the kind of person whose words and actions match, because in the end, you're the one who will live with your honor or your regret. And if this spoke to you, share your story in the comments. Someone out there might need to hear it. Some conversations are like stepping into a room with no way out. You walk in circles, hearing the same stories told over and over, until the light inside you begins to fade. Some people aren't looking for solutions. They're only looking for an audience. At first, their stories are real. A stressful job, a painful breakup, a dream left unfinished. But then they repeat them day after day until the frustration becomes part of who they are. And if you stay long enough, you start carrying that weight too. At first it's light, but it grows heavier and heavier. I once knew a woman, smart, talented, opportunities right in front of her. But every time we met, the conversation circled back to the same things: how unfair life had been, who had hurt her, and all the things she couldn't do. I listened. I tried to help her find a way forward, but over time, I realized we were just walking in a loop. And the truth is, I began to feel drained even before I saw her. The Stoics understood this well. Energy is a precious resource, and if you stay too long in a cloud of negativity, you start to think like it, feel like it, live like it. They don't walk away because they don't care. They walk away to stay whole. Because helping someone doesn't always mean standing in their storm. Sometimes, helping means stepping out so they realize they have to find their own way. You might ask, but what if it's a friend or family? The answer is, you still keep your boundaries. You can listen without carrying it. You can care without sinking into their stuck place. The Stoics quietly leave conversations that go nowhere. No arguing, no proving, just choosing to keep their energy for what truly matters. Remember, the ones looking for solutions will thank you for showing them a way forward. The ones looking for an audience only want you there to confirm their right to stay where they are. If you let that go on, you don't just lose time. You lose a piece of your own drive to live. Not every conversation helps you grow. Not every connection feeds your soul. Have the courage to walk away from the loops. Surround yourself with people who, when they talk about the problem, also talk about the way through. Because in the end, where you put your energy shapes the person you become. And you, who do you want to become? Have you ever walked into a room and within seconds, it felt like someone had switched off your light? Some people don't need to complain out loud. Just stepping in, the whole room sinks. It's like they carry a gray cloud with them, draping it over everything. No matter how bright the day is outside, in their eyes, it's still overcast. Chronic negativity isn't loud like constant complaining. It's quiet, like a fixed kind of weather, a climate where every bit of hope is covered in gray dust. They don't need to shout for you to know they're disappointed. A glance, a sigh, a half-hearted comment is enough to turn every fresh start into a heavy step. The danger of chronic negativity is how it erodes your resilience. At first you push back. No, it's going to be fine. But if you hear it long enough, you start to doubt, then believe, then live the same way. I once worked with someone like that. Whenever our team kicked off a new project, while everyone else was buzzing with ideas and possibilities, he'd let out a long sigh. This probably won't go anywhere. At first, I thought he was just being realistic. But after a few months, I realized any project he touched, the energy of the whole team dipped. Not because he sabotaged it, but because he brought a constant fog that dimmed the vision of what could be. The Stoics understood this. They knew your inner climate is as vital as the air you breathe. Stay too long in a toxic atmosphere, and you'll start carrying its sickness inside you. With people who live in chronic negativity, you can't argue them into optimism. They don't need to win the point, they just need to keep their sky gray. So the solution isn't trying to change their weather. It's protecting your own sky, limiting your time around them, keeping your emotional distance, and seeking out places where there's more light. Some will ask, but isn't walking away unkind? No, you're not abandoning them. You're refusing to let them repaint your life in shades of gray. Because if you stand in the rain too long, you forget what the sun feels like. Remember, optimism isn't denial. Optimism is keeping a flame alive even when the wind is strong. And to keep that flame burning, sometimes you have to step out of a climate that was never meant for you. Life is too short to let someone else decide your weather. Stand with people whose eyes light up when they talk about the future. Choose spaces where the sky is wide and blue enough to keep you believing in good things. And if today you're standing under a cloud that isn't yours, be brave enough to walk away, because sometimes the best way to protect yourself is there's a kind of poison you don't have to drink, and yet it can kill any relationship. It has no color, no smell, but you feel it. The moment someone's eyes darken at your joy or your success, that poison is envy. People who carry envy often live with a scarcity mindset. They believe life is one small pie, and if you take a slice, their share just got smaller. They don't see your success as inspiration. They see it as a threat, a reminder that they haven't reached their own dream. The danger of envy is that it destroys cooperation before it ever has a chance to start. You think you're rowing the same boat, but deep down, they're drilling a hole under the waterline. Not loud, not obvious, just quiet comments that chip away at your worth, half smiles when you achieve something, advice that sounds caring, but is really meant to pull you down. I once had a friend like that. At first I thought we were cheering each other on, but every time I moved forward, he moved away. No congratulations, no sharing in the moment, just a strange, heavy silence. It took me a while to see that each win of mine felt like a loss to him. The Stoics see envy as a contagious illness. They don't fight it by bragging. They don't shrink themselves to make the other person more comfortable. They keep their distance to protect their peace of mind because they believe someone else's success is proof that dreams can be reached. Instead of asking, "Why not me?" they ask, "What does this show me is possible?" Stay too close to envy for too long and you'll start hiding your victories, dimming your joy, shrinking your dreams just so you don't make anyone uncomfortable. But if you have to ask permission to be happy, that connection isn't real anymore. A healthy relationship is where both people can celebrate each other without fear of being compared or judged. If someone can't be happy when you're happy, they won't stand with you when you're hurting. Envy doesn't just kill connection, it poisons the person who carries it. So stay close to the people whose eyes light up when you talk about your dreams, the ones who make you want to share more and dream bigger. Because joy is like a flame. Shared in the right place, it spreads and warms everyone. But if you hand it to envy, it will be snuffed out before you ever feel its light. Walk toward the light. You know, the world is like soft ground beneath your feet. Every day you teach it how to treat you not with your words, but with what you allow. The 9 behaviors we've talked about, they're not just a list of don'ts. They're mirrors, reflecting where you draw the line. Disrespect, the first scratch on the glass of trust. Manipulation, an invisible rope tightening around your freedom. Dishonesty, a crack forming beneath the foundation. Betraying loyalty, a storm tearing the roof off the home you thought was safe. Entitlement, a hand reaching into your pocket without asking. Laziness and avoiding responsibility, a closed door when you need help. Constant complaining, a loudspeaker for the dark. Chronic negativity, a gray cloud blocking every sunrise. Jealousy and envy, eyes that want to snuff out the fire in your heart. Every time you let one of these slide, it's an open invitation for it to return. Every time you stop and say no, you're declaring, "I am worth more than this." Living with the Stoic spirit is not about building a fortress to shut out the world. It's about building a gate opening for what's worthy to enter and closing to what threatens your peace. Boundaries are not cold walls. They are the arms you wrap around your own dignity. They are your way of saying to the world, "I respect myself, and I expect you to do the same." The Stoic knows peace and dignity are never up for negotiation, because once you bargain over your worth, you will always get less than you deserve. Remember this: the world will treat you the way you teach it to. Every no you speak is a yes to your dignity, a yes to your peace, and a yes to a life you're proud to live. If what I've shared today has touched something deep in you, hit like as your way of saying you choose to stand with yourself. Subscribe so we can keep building stronger, healthier boundaries together, and share this with someone who needs to reclaim their worth.